Hello, good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Laura, and I'm a truly grateful recovering member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank you so much, Jay, for asking me to participate in my own recovery today. It's really important for me to stay in the middle. So that means when possible, when asked to do something, anything to help another person, to share at a meeting, make coffee, whatever it is, if it's possible, I always try to say yes. Thank you so much. I needed this opportunity. So my sobriety date is March 8th, 2015. And I've been sober since day one. Relapse is not part of my story. That does not mean that I'm better than you or worse than you. It just means that today we all have today only. And if there's a member here with 2 days sober, they have something to offer that member with 1 day sober. And it goes on. And I'm so thankful for that perspective that was given to me in the beginning, is that every one of us here are equal. That just because there's members that have 40, 50 years sober doesn't mean they're better than me. It doesn't mean necessarily that they're more educated. What it does mean is that those members have practiced this program, applied the spiritual principles, right? Have been honest in all affairs of life, and when not honest, have gone and made amends for that dishonesty. I mean, each of you have shown me that it's possible, and I'm so grateful for that today, because I tell you, when Jay asked me to speak, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to even share about, you know? I recently celebrated 10 years sober in March. I never thought that was possible. Like many, many people hear the same story. You know, our specifics might be different, but the story is usually the same. And that's that I'm an alcoholic addict who at the beginning loved drinking and using. That was my solution to many problems that I had. Over time, through the years, became worse and worse and out of control. I lost everything. And I'm here because I found that gift of desperation, that simple desire for a moment, just a moment, to be willing to do something different. And that changed the trajectory of my entire life. And I'm so grateful to the members that were there, that had the patience for us newcomers, right? That answered all my many, many questions, that every time I would call, they'd answer the phone or call me back. You know, there were really people that were interested in teaching me what I didn't know. That's the beauty of this program, man, is that everything that I get today was given to me so freely that I can pass it on. And if I continue to pass that on, man, my life is good. So my topic is, you know, what life was like before, what happened, and what does it look like now? Maybe successes and maybe some failures in my recovery journey along the way. So get ready. I hope that you have patience with me. As you can see, I'm signing in ASL and speaking at the same time. So it can be a little bit difficult. So please have patience with me. Thank you. Welcome, Stephen. Anyway, when I found the rooms of AA, it wasn't because I wanted it. You know, I've heard many times in the rooms that this program is not for people who need it. It's for people who want it and who are willing to do the work. I never thought that whenever I hit that wall of my alcohol and drug use, I never thought when I hit that wall and my husband told me, you have to get help or we're done, I never thought that 10 years later, that would still be my story. You see, whenever I joined these rooms, my gift of desperation is because I didn't know how to handle life anymore. I truly wanted to die. You know, at that time, life had become completely unmanageable. Drugs are a big part of my story. And it was easy for me to identify that the drugs were a problem. That was easy for me to recognize. Alcohol was not so easy to recognize that it was a problem and out of control because I blacked out. I didn't remember most of it. I always thought when people told me the next day what happened the night before and what I had done, I was blacked out. I didn't really remember, so I didn't believe them. I was in denial. The rooms of AA were terrifying to me because I started in another program in a sister fellowship, and I'm truly grateful to that program. But what I learned is that for me, there's a difference, and that means that I have to have a different approach. And so for me, the idea of AA was terrifying because my first exposure to AA was a bunch of older people, really, and I didn't feel like I fit. You know, I didn't understand that if I stayed long enough, I would hear my story. And if I stopped looking for the differences, I would find some commonality. And I'll never forget, I'll always remember going to those beginning 93 meetings, and I didn't feel that I belonged. And at that 94th meeting, something inside of me changed, and I finally found identification. I finally realized that it doesn't matter what we look like on the outside, truly where we're from. What matters is the message, the steps, the traditions. All of that is what changes my life. Not going to a church basement and thinking that people were going to teach me how to drink successfully. Because that's what, I thought in the beginning, that maybe if I go to this outpatient and I stop for 30 days, my 30-day challenge, then okay, then I can go back. No big deal. I'll make my family happy. I'll do treatment. I'll go to the meetings, the stupid meetings, whatever you want. Just get off my back. I had no idea that at day 30, I would have a desire to stay in the program. Day 94, that change inside of me was a truly profound change. I found hope. For the first time in my life, I finally felt a little bit of hope. I never thought that I could get clean and sober and stay that way for a long time. I truly didn't believe it was possible for an addict and alcoholic like me. All the terrible things I had done, I don't need to go into a long story and share with you all those details. We know what life was like before, right? I can see it in your faces. We all know life before. What happened was when I found that hope for the first time, at the same time, I found a desire to practice honesty. And honesty for me was a struggle because my understanding, if I was honest, that meant weakness. That meant that I was opening myself up for being hurt. But if I was able to go through life in an illusion and setting boundaries and not letting people truly into my life, then I'd be okay. So whenever I felt that desire to practice honesty, and I felt a little bit of hope at the same time, I also found some acceptance. I found acceptance in my identification. I'm Laura. I am a truly thankful member. of AA. And saying that out loud for the first time was scary. But that freedom I felt on day 94, whenever I went to that meeting and I identified, that was the first time in my life that I knew that life for me was going to be different forever. So a little bit about my story, not too much, but I have birth defects, and my whole life I've been very sick. And for almost 40 years of my life, including my parents and medical professionals, they told me that I was imagining it, that I needed to see a psychiatrist because it was all in my head, that there was nothing physically wrong with me. I used and I drank to kill the pain. The physical pain, the emotional pain from not being believed. Not one person believed me. Sorry, I'm trying not to cry. Thank God when I was finally diagnosed with these birth defects, I had a few years sober at that time. I had a foundation, a program of AA already in place. Because when I was finally given the diagnosis of my diseases, it was life-changing for me. I was born with my organs in the wrong places in my body, right? Like my appendix was in a totally wrong place, uterus, everything. My heart's in a normal place, my lungs, but other than that, everything is all mixed up, which means it doesn't work right. My body doesn't function right. Anyway, when I was finally diagnosed, I ended up having, as of now, over 40 major surgeries. I've died on the operating table twice. I've had to tell my kids and my family goodbye forever because my doctors didn't know if the surgery was going to be successful. But the one thing I didn't have during all of that was a desire to drink or use, period. And those moments when the pain was so deep that I wanted to die, I was able to ask for help, to reach out to members in the program and get honest and say, hey, I need some help. I need a meeting. Can we do a Zoom meeting? You know, and people brought meetings to my hospital bed. People called me, sorry, my dogs are barking. Like, those life-changing surgeries, yes, while scary and terrifying, were also liberating. I found the freedom that through this program and working the steps and the traditions, that I've changed my life so deeply that if I left this earth today, I know that my 11 grandkids have never seen me hype or loaded. Never, ever. My kids that I had abandoned years ago because continuing my cycle of addiction was more important than taking care of my kids. Those kids are my family now. When they experience problems in their lives, they call me. They ask me for help because they see the program working in my life every single day. They know that through the death of my father, through all these surgeries, through everything that I faced through the last 10 years, my family knows that not only will I be okay, I will continue to thrive. So if I left this earth today, I know that this program works. And that my kids and my family, whenever they look back, will remember me with love. and with grace and knowing where to go when they need the help. Because I do have family in their disease right now. And it's awful to watch. But I know that at the end of the day, they know where to go when they're ready for help. Because this program has proved itself in the life of many, right? And I'm one of those people. And because I carry over my recovery program, not limited to the rooms, to meetings, and to events, but I apply the program into all areas of my life. That means that my kids, my family, my coworkers, friends, especially friends from the past, I don't have to preach to them. It is living proof in everyday things that I do, right? It's about showing up when asked. It's about practicing honesty at all costs. There's so many spiritual principles that I get to apply today because I took the time to learn our literature. You know, the solution for me is in the steps, truly. I've heard that before, but thank God for me, when things get really tough, I have steps 1, 2, and 3. Anything in this life that I face, the steps apply to. You know, if my thoughts and fears of surgery are creeping up, I can identify that this is making my life unmanageable. So going forward from there, I can apply the rest of the steps based on the decision that I have a willingness to apply the tools that I've learned to whatever situation comes up in this crazy life. You know, there's no situation that's too much for me today. And I don't mean that out of arrogance or cockiness, but I mean that out of peace. I mean that I will fail sometimes. It doesn't mean I fail sometimes. It doesn't mean that I have to quit. It means that in failing, there's beauty in that. There's strength in making mistakes and learning and growing from that. You know, I'm always one of those kinds of people that prefer everything to be perfect. And I don't like to make mistakes. And when I do make mistakes, I really don't like people to know that I made a mistake. Thankfully, today I have learned with my step 10 that when I am wrong, I can promptly admit it. You know, I can go to whoever I have hurt and apologize. And not only say it, but mean it and change my behavior. And that's been hard for me because there's a lot of things I can't and won't do perfectly. So I have to surrender to the fact that I'm human and I will make mistakes, but there's grace when I recognize those mistakes and take the time and action to correct them. If I didn't have these tools in my life, I can't imagine how out of control my life would be, you know? You know, our 9th step promises come true. And if I take the time to look around, I can see the evidence of that in so many things around me every single day. You know, I talked a little bit about the grandkids that I have. I have 2 of them with me today for the weekend. Being able to show up as a sober grandmother for these kids, that is so profound. That because my husband was fed up with me being drunk and high, and he told me to go to treatment and get help, because for a moment I had a little bit of willingness. Here we are today with a full life of family and friends. My kids trust me so much that they allow me access to their kids, full access to their kids. I am on their emergency contact list at their schools. That means I am trusted enough to go pick up those kids from school on my own. I don't know about you, but when my kids were growing up, because of my addiction, my disease, I wasn't on their paperwork. I couldn't go pick up my kids from school. It was the opposite. If I showed up at their school, they were going to call the police. And now here we are 10 years later, and I have all these beautiful grandkids that have never seen me high or drunk. Like, that's only possible through this program, through the tools that I've learned here. Those steps have been life-changing. If you are a new member of Alcoholics Anonymous, I encourage you to get so deeply involved in your step work that it becomes second nature, an instinct. Because when life gets really hard, when emergencies happen, I don't have to think about what to do. Instinctually, I know what to do. And that means to reach out, to get honest, to ask for help. You know, like I was sharing about having a surgery and being in the ICU. Instead of taking advantage of the situation and pushing the button for more medication through my IV, you know, instead of that, I asked the nurse to set up my iPad for a Zoom meeting. Like, what kind of life-changing program is this, that in a moment that I truly can have access to whatever I want, instead of taking advantage of that old me, instinctually, the first thing that comes up is, I need a meeting. I need my family. I need my chosen family here in AA. I need other members to give me their feedback, their opinion, their experience, strength, and hope, because I can't do this alone. Because the truth of it is I have a family here, a physical family, a blood family, and they know me, yes, but they will never know me in the same way that the members of AA know me. Right? We come to these rooms to get honest, and we share about things here and with our sponsors and other recovering members. We share things that we would never discuss with our husband, our wife, our kids, etc. This program is beautiful in that I know that it's a safe place. And if I can't access a meeting in person, okay, there's thousands of meetings to choose from on Zoom any time of the day. If you're new, please get so involved in your step work and in reading the literature that it becomes a second nature, that it becomes an instinct, that when things come up and the old behaviors, the character defects, all of that start really creeping up, we know the opposite of that and what to do to replace that. And my sponsor is this amazing, beautiful woman. I love her, but she's not always available for me 24 hours a day. She's not. Sometimes members don't answer their phone. Sometimes in the moment, I have to make a decision on my own. I don't have to stress today if I'm making the right decisions. Today, I know that, okay, I have my higher power, God of my understanding, and I take a moment and I pause, right? Think about it, pray about it for a moment, and then I do go about to the best of my ability, knowing that if I make a mistake, I can always make amends for that. Always. And those amends, that process works for me today because my family and the people that are close to me know that when I make an amends, it's not words, it's action, right? I have never had to make the same amends twice, especially to the same person twice. That doesn't mean I'm better than you. Not at all. It just means that by the grace of my God and my higher power, I'm able to do that today. I never thought that I could go from being a drunk, fully high, out of my mind, running around on my husband, being gone for 4 days, 5 days, my family worrying about where I am and if I'm safe or if I'm dead. To change to this today, I can't imagine not being a member of this program and continuing to go to meetings and practice this in all areas of my life. You know, sometimes I think that I have too much to do because the life that this program has given me, I'm busy today. I have things to do. And I have to remind myself that if I don't focus on my recovery the same way that I focused on my addiction, I will fail. I will. And I've already tried jails. I didn't like that. I've already tried institutions. I didn't like that. And even though for a long time I prayed for death, I don't want that. So just for today, I'm going to keep showing up. And I'm going to show up with a heart full of gratitude and willingness and do the next right thing to the best of my ability. You know, I had mentioned that my father passed away in November. He actually passed away on Thanksgiving night. So it's just now 6 months since my father's been gone. My mother has started dating very quickly. And anyway, her new boyfriend came to our family event today. And he's a nice man, very nice man. We were talking a little bit, and I was able to share a little bit about my story with him. And later, he let me know that his daughter is 59 years old, and she's still in her alcoholism so bad that he's having to pay her bills and take care of her, his daughter, who's almost 60 years old. And you know, instead of my mother, who was sitting there being embarrassed because of me and my history, my mother was proud because I was able to help another person, another parent, to let them know that it's not your fault. You can't continue to enable her, though. You have to set a boundary. I was able to give him advice and give him direct information to Al-Anon so that he can have a program to help him in his journey. You know, that felt good to see that what before was so embarrassing and shameful, that today is a gift that I can pass on to other people, and never knowing when those moments are going to happen. So knowing that my program is evident because this man that I don't know, before he left today, said, "Thank you. I have a deep respect for the woman that you are. You have lived a beautiful journey, and I hope that your life is continually full of all this love and beauty." For a man that doesn't know me to be able to say that he respects me in my beautiful journey. That's the power of this program. Before, there was such a stigma attached to it, right? Like embarrassment, and I don't want people to know, I'm embarrassed of myself. To be able to look people in the eye today, that feels good. To know that if an emergency happens and the school calls me to pick up the kids, I'm sober. I can do that at any moment. To know that whenever my father was in hospice and he was dying, for him to know that I'm okay, that I will thrive, and that I will take care of this family. My father was able to go in peace, knowing that. So I have the freedom today. But the second biggest gift from that is my father had peace, knowing that I'm okay. That's important for me. Sorry, still raw and emotional. So, some unsuccessful parts of my recovery journey. Well, not really unsuccessful because I learned something. But a few years ago, right about the 5 year sober, I felt like I didn't need this program anymore, that I didn't need you anymore, that I'm not really an alcoholic. Yes, an addict. Yep. Alcoholic. Nope. Not really. I can control my drinking. And that lie almost got me. Almost. But remember when I was talking about having a foundation so strong that the instinct is to ask for help instead of lie and hide? That? Thank God I had that foundation, because when that disease was talking so loud in my head, trying to convince me that I'm not an alcoholic. You can have one, Laura. It's no big deal. Look, it's been a long time. You don't have the physical withdrawals or anything. You'll be okay. It's just one. In my head, boy, that disease was talking so loud. But in my gut, right here, it was screaming out, Laura, ask for help. Thank God I did. All I had to do was text my sponsor and say simply, help me. I don't have the desire to stay anymore. And she called me immediately. And then after we hung up the phone, I went to a meeting and I shared about it. Rolled up my sleeves, full exposure, shared about it. And in that moment of honesty, again, I found a freedom from the lie that I'm not an alcoholic. I can have only one. It's no big deal. So now I don't miss those meetings. I go to meetings. I share about what's happening in my life, not the beautiful things that make me look like everything is great. I share about the real, the raw, what's happening. I share about it, but not too much, because my sponsor has taught me that the rooms are to share, yes, but not to dump everything. That's what my step work is for. My step work is for me to do the introspection and figure it all out, write it all down, and get rid of it, right? The meetings are to share, but I don't need to share too much. I've learned that going to meetings and sharing, if I can have that as my foundation, that it's really easy for me to read the literature because I get used to hearing it in the meetings, the language. I have the mindset of recovery today. Today, I am able to choose gratitude. So having the steps to really, I don't know, bring this program to life makes it easier for me to get interested in reading the literature. I'm really interested to see what this new one, the plain language, big book, I'm really interested to see how that one reads because the old book, can be tough sometimes. I'm so grateful that these traditions have taught me how to work well and play well with other people. Because before it's always been about me, always. I didn't care about other people and what was happening to you. It was what can I benefit in that moment? What can I take? What can I take advantage? Who can I manipulate? All of that. My mind never stopped. It never stopped. But now I have the peace of mind that I don't have to manipulate and take advantage and lie and everything else. Today, I can simply wake up in the morning and recognize and identify that I'm an alcoholic and an addict and that I have a desire to stay sober. And if I can do that simple thing of identifying to myself and recognizing that I have a desire to stay sober, then the next easiest thing for me is to go on with prayer and meditation, right? It becomes such a routine that if I miss it, I feel it. It's not an addiction itself, right? It's not an obsession. What it is a desire to be so active in my program of recovery that there's no space for the disease to come back up and talk to me in the first place. Because when I'm focused on my recovery, I don't hear it telling me, you're not really an alcoholic. You can have one. You can have one. I don't listen to that disease because the foundation of this program. Another thing that man had told me today when we were sitting down talking about, my surgeries and all of that. When he said, how do you have such a perspective of being happy about everything that you've been through and everything that you will face in the future? Like, how can you feel so happy and laugh about that? I mean, he was puzzled. And I just kind of smirked and said, well, I have two choices. Either be miserable, really sad and scared, or I can be really grateful that I have today. I can be really thankful even in the bad days. And I can be really, really thankful knowing that I made an impression, right? I made a change in my family. I made a change so important that I can never go back to what it was before. Whenever I look back, I don't recognize that person. I'm not the same person. I have changed so much that whenever I sit down to, to read my old step work, sometimes I have to remember that that's actually me that wrote that because it feels so long ago. That pain and frustration and resentment that I felt years ago, the step work has helped me heal that so that I don't have those strong emotions attached anymore. Those amends have been made. The forgiveness has happened. The obsession of the mind has been lifted. I don't have to focus on that anymore. I can truly let go. And I've only learned that through the program of AA. But it all starts with willingness, just a little bit of willingness. That's all I needed to start my life in a totally different trajectory. I don't know if I said anything that made sense to anyone. I hope I did. But I want to leave you with this. If we're lucky and we continue to stay sober, we become older in the program of AA. We eventually will face death, right? Everyone faces that fact. And if I'm lucky and I continue to show up and do the work for me, then I know that when that time comes, I'm at peace. I know that my family has finally been able to experience the love of a mother, of a grandmother. That this program has given me the tools to teach those grandkids how to walk through their little lives with grace, honesty, acceptance, self-respect, so many things that I never had. And it's only possible because of this program and my willingness, that little bit, but most importantly, the God of my understanding showing up every day to walk with me side by side, because I have a desire to stay sober for one more day. Thank you so much for letting me share. I love you guys. Thank you.
Yay. We love you so much, Laura.